Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Far Above Rubies. Today we're taking a look at Psalm chapter 78, and we're going to talk about the thought, so the next generation might know. We're going to read verses 4, 6, and 7 together, and they say this: "We will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about His power and His mighty wonders." Verse 6, "So the next generation might know them, even the children not yet born, and they in turn will teach their own children. So each generation should set its hope anew on God, not forgetting His glorious miracles and obeying His commands." As parents, we have no greater calling than helping our children to lay a foundation in relationship with God. There is no other ministry in our lives that comes before that. There is no other soul to be reached that comes before our responsibility as a parent to lay the foundation in relationship with God for our children, to live lives that exalt a relationship with the Lord above all else on the earth, because that is their life. That is their source of life throughout their years. It is not enough for my children that I am saved. That is not going to get them through this life. It is not going to get them into heaven. It is not going to get them through their dark times that I have relationship with Jesus, that I am saved, that I have walked through the plan of salvation for myself, and it is not enough for them. They cannot get into heaven hanging on to my apron strings. That's not how it works. They have to choose for themselves. They have to choose God. They have to choose relationship and intimacy with Him. They have to choose surrender in this life to the things of the Lord. They have to choose salvation. We can't do it for them. We can't make them choose, and we cannot hand them on a silver platter the things of God, and they'll just coast through this life. We cannot make them choose, but their lack of surrender is not our failure. I'm going to say that again, because there's a lot of women in this group who will have children who are listening in via podcast that have children who have walked away from the Lord, who have not chosen to live a life for the Lord. But their lack of choosing Christ is not your failure. Where we can fail as parents, where we can fail as mothers, is our inability to pour into them because we are afraid we won't do it right. Being too timid to pour into our children, leaving that responsibility to someone else in their lives because we are maybe too busy and we think, well, they'll get it in Sunday school, or they'll get it when we put VeggieTales in front of them, and we think that that's enough. That is our failure. Their lack of choosing Christ, their lack of surrender to Christ is not our failure. We cannot make any other human being choose God. But we are failing if we do not lay a foundation for them to know Him, if we do not present Him in the most beautiful ways that we know how. Let's not fail in that area because we don't believe we have the right tools, or because our lives are too busy, or because we think someone else can do it better. This also applies to spiritual parents. Now, I know there's a lot of women listening in who don't yet have children or choose to not have children, and they think, this is not for me, this is not about me. But we can all, and we should all, be spiritual parents. One of our great commissions is to go and make disciples as followers of Jesus Christ. We have a responsibility as spiritual parents, as women of faith, as those who have had a deep relationship with the Lord over time, to reproduce ourselves in the Spirit, to create spiritual birth opportunity, to help others to know Jesus Christ the way that we do. Are we passing it from one spiritual generation to another? Are we making sure the next generation knows that they may teach the next generation beyond them? Those who are not even born into the kingdom yet. We have a responsibility, mothers, women of faith, to make sure that both our biological and spiritual children have the opportunity to know God for themselves. Deuteronomy chapter 6, many of you will know the passage. In this passage we hear, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." We hear, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all of your strength." And then it goes on to say, "You shall teach these things diligently to your children." When you're sitting in your house and when you're walking by the way, when you get up in the morning and you lie down at night, you will teach them to your children. We see that again from the psalmist. You will teach them to your children. We will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about his power and his mighty wonders, so the next generation might know them, even children not yet born. And they in turn will teach their own children. So each generation should set its hope anew on God, not forgetting his glorious miracles and obeying his commands. We want our children to know God. We want our spiritual children to know God. Let's not hide these truths from our children. Let's not think they cannot grasp or cannot understand or are not ready for the things of God, the truths of his word and who he is. Go and read Psalm chapter 78, and if no one has told you lately, you are loved and you are cherished and you are valuable. You have beautiful and tremendous worth, my sweet friend, and that worth is far above rubies. Thank you for tuning in today, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. God bless you.